We are
Right,
live.
don't talk, Paul.
Okay, I won't talk.
Don't crush the
Good.
phone.
No, whatever you do. Hello, darlings, and a very warm welcome. This is the 10 o'clock news from the EV Café, brought to you this week by the ITT Hub, Transport's home of technology, thought leadership, strategies, and solutions, featuring us, the EV Café. It happens next Wednesday and Thursday in Farnborough, and you can still be there. Tickets can be had by going to itthub.co.uk and clicking register. The best bit, it's free to attend. And after all that's said and done, I am still John Curtis. And today I am joined by the quite marvellous Paul Kirby, the outstanding Sam Clark, and Sarah Sloman, who has no control over her phone whatsoever and has already dropped one, if you'll pardon the expression. Anyway, there we are. Plug in for the latest in zero emission and sustainability news. And today we're going to be talking about new car registrations, and just for equality purposes, new van registrations. The battery state of health rules that might be coming our way. Arnold Clark becoming a charge point operator, and Sweden's plans for induction charging HGVs. Sam is going to froth. Sweden's plans for induction charging HGVs is going to set him off. And anyway, stay tuned, because at the end of this broadcast, I am going to teach you all how to say Karcher properly. Oh yes. But up first, on this coronation weekend, the number of new company cars registered in April increased by 32%, with 17,300 more vehicles delivered to fleets than in the same month last year. That's good news. New data from the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders also shows that manufacturers are delivering the majority of their volume to fleets, compared to prioritising retail that was seen during 2022. 71,648 new cars were registered to fleet and businesses in April, compared to 54,000 last year, equating to a total market share of 54%. And this time last year, it was 46%, so an 8% increase going to fleets, which is great news. Fleet and business registrations year to date are up even higher. 38%, holding 54% market share with 337,655 new company cars. Overall, the new car market recorded its 9th successive month of growth in April, and battery electric vehicles, the bit we really care about, remained the second most popular fuel type, with deliveries up by more than a half to 20,522 and 15% of the market. Plug-in hybrids posted strong growth of 33.3%. Well, hang on a sec, because there's an even weirder thing, which is that 7.7% increase in hybrids at 15,000 units, a staggering 15% of the total. And my question to you guys is, who's still buying hybrids? Paul, got a view?
Sorry, what's a hybrid?
Yeah. Sam.
It's like, it's that thing in a museum, isn't it?
Hey, what's going on? I mean, Sam, why are people buying hybrids? What's the scoop?
I honestly, I don't know. It's a good question. Why might they be buying hybrids? I mean, I guess based on some of the stats that you shared there, whether or not people are seeing it as a convenient stopgap for their EV, which would be a terrible thing to do, and they'll be misinformed if that's what they're doing. But perhaps maybe that's part of the push. There is the OEMs encouraging those models through one last time before they really do end up in a museum.
Well, we met someone last week at the Fully Charged live show, came up to see us doing our silly filming, and he actually has a business, so he's currently trading in hybrids, because there is still that market of insecure people, and he's going to go full electric, and we discussed about it being very much a stepping stone. I think that's hard to deny. People do still feel and see it as a stepping stone, but the faster we can get through, I did say to him, the faster we can get through that and onto pure EV, kind of the better, for all the reasons that we keep saying.
Now then, one of the reasons why the EV Cafe news is so fabulous is because you're here. And we've got Gary Comerford, Dan Martin, LinkedIn users, unnamed, Michael Anderson, Martin Sweeney. Hello, Martin, from MHA, bless your little heart. Ray Lucas from Hamburg. Guten Morgen, my friend. Anyway, Colin Hennessy, hello, Daryl Sharp, James Purton. I was studying German this morning in order to learn how to say Karcher properly. More soon. Richard Hill, good morning. Now then. Oh, I've got no chance of saying Ike Glusky's name if I try and do it properly, so I won't. Mark Newbury, bless you all for coming along. Let's get on with the news. Paul. Hello, Paul.
Yes.
Wakey,
Yes.
wakey, dear. It's your time. Vans, mate. Vans. Now then, new light commercial vehicles, that's LCVs, registrations grew by 4.9% in April, regaining ground on pre-pandemic levels according to the SMMT, the Society for Motor Manufacturers and Traders. A fourth straight month of growth with 22,665 new units registered in the month, and year to date 110,000 new LCVs have been registered, just 13.7% off the 2019 figure. That's a bit disappointing, but anyway, the largest growth was recorded for vans weighing greater than 2 to 2.5 tonnes, which more than doubled to reach 4,318 registrations. 4x4s also grew by 370%. Wonder if that's got anything to do with the Maxus T90. Anyway, go over to Paul for a more in-depth analysis. Set your alarm clocks for 4 minutes' time. He's going to start speaking now.
I'm not going to take 4 minutes, but what I will say is, because obviously those numbers didn't include the battery electric vehicle numbers, the market is 14.8% up on last year, as is the overall market. So there is no relative growth. So 5.4% year to date last year, 5.4% year to date this year. It is stalling, but there is good news. So the good news is that the grants have been extended up to 1,500 units per user. So that what that means in real terms is that a big business like OpenReach, Mighty, DPD, lots of your Royal Mail, all of those guys can go out and get an extra 500 vehicles, which will enable them to generate £2.5 million worth of additional grant money to help with that total cost of ownership challenge and help with the deployment of charging and all of that good stuff. So it is really good news. It is much needed, and we've got to recognise that there are real challenges afoot for the van market. And product is not really one of them. There is availability, or the availability is growing, and also there's a much greater diversification available. So if you're listening and you're a big fleet, go and order another 500. And if you're a smaller fleet, take confidence that there is plenty out there to help you along.
Sam.
John, can you hear me all right? Because producer Joe made me switch my microphones. Okay, good. The other stat in there, John, which I thought was interesting, is the largest volume growth was recorded for vans weighing greater than 2 to 2.5 tons. I think that's a good thing. I think vans need to get bigger. We just need less of them on the road, and so we need more efficiency, more capacity per vehicle. So less of the small things, more of the big things, but having less vehicles on the road that are delivering things in a more efficient way. So that's an interesting statistic for me, or a trend which appears to be happening, and that's good news.
And does that suggest that there's better consolidation of loads, and they're putting more tonnage onto vehicles just now because they're going into hubs and redistributing more stuff through less vehicles, or not really?
Probably not yet, but I think that's certainly something that needs to happen. It really does. But it's a very difficult thing to satisfy with consolidation of different companies' product in the same van. But you know, the growth in e-commerce continues, doesn't it? So yeah, there are more and more parcels and more consolidation of parcels going to the same locations. Hence, vans need to be bigger to facilitate the additional volume.
But Sam, that mid-sector of vans 2 to 2.5 tons is not the biggest sector. The sector that would grow in respect to the e-commerce side of things would be the up to 3.5 and up to 4.25 ton. So that mid-sector and that 2 to 2.5 ton or whatever it was is not the biggest vans. Is actually sort of the mid-sized vans. Even the Berlingo is 2.2 tons. So it's going to be the weights are moving and merging. So it's difficult to know exactly what the trend is yet.
Yeah, similarly, I think it's as much about cube as it is about weight now, because a lot of the volume, it's not about weighting out a van, it's about how much physical stuff you can cubically get in it. Which is often it's not a metric talked about, because we always talk about the weight, the payload of a vehicle. We never talk about its cube, but it's equally as important.
It's all about the cube. Let's get that message out there. Now, Sarah, can you tell me what's the state of health of the battery in your vehicle that you're currently sitting in? Do you know?
State of health?
Yes.
No, hopefully greater than 80%, otherwise it can go back.
Interesting response. The simple answer was no. Paul, do you know the state of health of yours?
I do not, no.
There we go. And I bet Sam doesn't either, and he's good with numbers.
Yeah, I do. Well, I do on my motorbike, but not on my car.
Well, I asked you about your car, so shut your face. The UK government is working with international partners to develop new laws for monitoring the state of health of electric vehicle batteries. The plans to make the fitting of a battery state of health monitor compulsory on all new EVs was discussed at last week's meeting of the Vehicle Remarketing Association. Abdul Chowdhury, head of vehicle policy at the Office for Zero Emission Vehicles, explained that because the battery forms a large part of a used EV's value and performance, providing information on its health would support consumers in making informed comparisons between vehicles and help alleviate concerns over battery degradation. He went on to say the UK government's been working with the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe and other international partners to develop technical regulations on state of health. And these are likely to become regulations that will move into UK law. It didn't say when. The EU is also considering options, and its Euro 7 proposals look set to bring state of health monitors in from July 2025. All feels a little bit pedestrian. And we need to know what the state of health is. Now, there are two recommendations which have come out which are key to drivers and buyers. The first is to mandate installation of the state of health monitors, which must be accessible to the consumer, meet accuracy requirements and be validated through in-service testing. And the second is to set a minimum performance standard of 80% state of health from 0 to 5 years old, or 100,000 kilometres, whichever comes first, and 70% state of health between 5 and 8 years old, or 100,000 to 160,000 kilometres, again, whichever comes first. And this information is absolutely critical. Paul and I were lucky enough to do some training with the Motorway Group, and we were taking them through a masterclass on EVs. Training is available from the EV Café. Please sign up here. And the one thing which came out of that training was, in terms of remarketing vehicles, that state of health is a major concern for buyers and is potentially holding down residual values. Paul, would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. All the data that we're getting is that we need more information for end users when they're making decisions. Not only the guys that are buying the vehicle to use it in their life, but also the dealers buying those vehicles, because they don't know what they're buying, and that is a critical concern. Today they can lift the bonnet and they can look at the oil, they can see what's coming out the back and understand what that engine might be doing. But in a battery and a motor, it's much, much harder to know how hard it's been used, what the state of health is. So it is definitely affecting residual values of vehicles currently.
Sarah, hit me.
I love that. I just put my hand up and somebody's email went bling. I need that to happen every time I raise my hand, please. The power of the shows, right? We were at the EV World Congress last year, and a company called Atelium were telling me about how they are going through the insurance process to insure these batteries before and after sale. And I find that really interesting that it's becoming part of the insurance process to work out when that car might fail and what you can do with the battery as a cost later. And again, the same person came forward sort of 6 months later after this research had been concluded at the Fully Charged live show last week. And it just made me realise how quick this subject is moving. I remember you doing that motorway training. I remember hitting the chat to try and find out what percentages people consider to be a problem as a battery. It's usually sort of 70 to 80 depending on the manufacturer. But I think it'd be nice for a consumer to understand that. It's the same as we all go, oh, how many miles has it done, and kick the tyres as if we know what we're talking about. But with the born of apps, we'll be able to see the different levels, and that'll affect the cost and resale. I'm all for it. Why not?
Yeah, I think Gary Comerford asked an interesting question about the details of how that state of health will be calculated. And to be honest with you, Gary, in the chat there, we don't know yet. Yeah. There's a desire to move to a way of monitoring this and testing this on a regular basis. But quite what the methodology will be hasn't yet been determined. Sam?
Yeah, I think there's a few things there, and Gary raised a good point, and that is, this isn't the whole story in my mind, because Battery health, I think it could be very complicated if we allow that information to be readily available all the time. From a residual value and a resale point of view, that could get very complicated. I almost think it should be broken down into more simple terms, possibly through the MOT. Battery health is something that has to be hit a certain level, for example. So after 3 years, it needs to hit a certain level. Otherwise, there needs to be some cell re-engineering to improve that battery and get it back to a level that is acceptable, for example, rather than having a constant stream. I think all the information about battery status health is all there anyway. It's all in the vehicles. It's just we can't get at it. So the data is there. We don't need extra devices on machines to do that. And the other thing which I think we also need to consider is what happens with vehicles in 5 or 10 years' time when they have a new battery pack, or when one cell is changed during the first 3 years. Then what is it worth? So there's lots of other complexities that haven't been addressed here, which also will materially affect what residual values and reselling of vehicles and batteries being reused for storage and then a new set going in. How do you value a vehicle that's 3 years old with a brand new set of batteries, for example? How on earth do you come up with a value for that? And battery health is not going to solve that problem. So there's a wider issue here, which I think needs to be better understood.
But I think the addition
Thank you, Sam.
The addition of battery health is going to make a difference, though, no question. And giving that insight is going to be really valuable for the used market. What's interesting is there's a new van coming to market from Watt Electric Vehicles, and they plan a 20-year life with specific points on refurbishment for the whole vehicle through that life. And they're going to sell it as that proposition, and it will include batteries and cells and understanding, the battery health at cell level and being able to kind of renew and refresh that so that each time that vehicle gets refurbished, it goes out back as almost like a new vehicle. So it's going to be a very, very changing and evolving market.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, Paul, you said there, and there's a couple of comments in the chat about don't some EVs allow the displayed battery health in their infotainment system, and buy a Neo and you have no problem with the battery. But I guess that, for all valid points, but we need the solution which covers everything, not just what van producing something that might be very, very intuitive and innovative, but the solution needs to cover all vehicles of all types, both now and probably more importantly, historically as well.
You're never going to get that, Sam, because you've got individual manufacturers that will have their individual IP, just as we have with ICE vehicles today. You can't plug a Star machine into a Volvo. You can't plug Volvo's own proprietary tech into another vehicle. There are vehicles that do cover some of it, and some technology covers a lot of it, but you're not going to get one part that fits all.
No, you are, because at the base level, they've all got battery health data. They've all got it in there somewhere, and what the logic is, that the mandate is about enforcing people to share that data streams. Yes. Every vehicle historically has it. So it's just a case of enforcing them to give it to us. And then it's one consistent piece of information on every vehicle, old and new.
Right, darlings, we've got to move on, but I didn't expect that one to be controversial. Arnold Clark is set to create the UK's first business-based national electric vehicle charging network with a 23 million investment to install rapid chargers across its 80 dealerships. The UK's second largest retail group says the network will be open to fleet and business customers, as well as private car owners, with pre-booking via its own Arnold Clark app. Eddie Hawthorne, the chief exec, revealed that the first delivery of 150 kilowatt rapid charge points is due to arrive in the UK shortly. Good work there, Eddie. Shortly. When's that? The full order of around 560 will see each dealership install 4 to 8 charge points. Access to the network will be 24/7 where possible, with charge point sessions booked via the app and out-of-hours site access granted via an ANPR-activated battery system. That's interesting. Surely, Sarah, you frothing about that?
I am super excited for them because it's been happening piecemeal for a long time. When you are a landowner, you can choose whether to go out for a concession arrangement with a CPO like Instavel, Osprey, whoever, and allow those chargers to be on your site. Or if you've got the funding, you can do it yourself, manage it yourself, and wear that burden yourself. But what these guys have done is waited to a point where their network is very strategic already. They're in sort of retail parks close to where people live. They often have their own land, their own leasehold. So there's nothing stopping them doing this. And that will be resold as an asset to that building as and when or if they ever choose to leave. So great if you've got the money. I would always say go ahead and do it. But often it's not going to take away from the other CPOs, I don't think, because actually it's still just them looking after themselves. And also they'll need that to recharge. They've always been leading the way with electric vehicles. So for them, they need it for their own infrastructure too. And I would encourage any landowner to think very carefully about Route A or Route B for concession or ownership. I think I'm one to watch, definitely. Congrats again to the Arnold Clark team.
Fabulous bit of work. And finally, this is really, I'm going to enjoy this. Just to wind Sam up. Sweden is set to become the first country to implement a functioning charging road for heavy electric vehicles. The E20 is set to be a 21-kilometre stretch running between Hallsberg and Örebro, with inbuilt charging infrastructure for heavy EVs such as freight and haulage trucks. The innovative move will set the precedent for decarbonised logistics around the world. While construction will begin in 2025, which method of charging has yet to be confirmed? And ready, 1, 2, 3. Sam, it's all you.
I mean, like Sarah, I only read the news as it comes out. So this is my first reaction to that. And they're building a road for trucks in 3 years' time.
21 kilometres. That's what bothered me. Just 21 kilometres doesn't seem very far.
Not entirely sure how that's news, to be honest.
Yeah, John. Why did you even include that on the news?
I included that because it gave me the opportunity to show that I can speak a little bit of Norwegian and Örebro.
You did a good job.
No, it's all good, I suppose, right? I mean, if they're looking for decarbonised logistics and they're trying to come up with innovative ways of creating a solution that gets diesel trucks off the road, then that's great. But you know, as an initiative, I'm not entirely sure what that's achieving.
So, look, as an industry and as people, we say, wow, you must think ahead, you must plan, you must get things in the ground before the vehicles turn up. We talk about getting the infrastructure out there. And then when somebody puts it out there, potentially 3 years before it's really needed, we go, oh, that's a bit bloody early, isn't it? What are we doing that for?
But that news article said they're building a road. They have not even said what the infrastructure is going to be yet.
It's
wireless.
Induction charging.
Yeah.
Did you say induction charging?
No, it's on the bottom. Sweden plans induction charging HGVs by 2025, because I can read.
No more clues.
Oh, clearly I can't. And induction charging, oh my God. Well, you know, what a colossal waste of time.
Look at that brow.
Oh, Jesus. Do you know, I love the hate. Every idea that Sam doesn't think will work because he's done all the knowledge and research and testing and learning from it, just goes, yeah, let's just pour a lot of urine on the fireworks or whatever.
Well, it's just spectacularly inefficient. It's so expensive and so inefficient, and its technology's been around for.
Of course, it's
been around for 10 years, and no one's using it.
Of course, it was, but maybe it might improve. Ever thought of that? Ever thought that actually somebody might be clever enough to improve it?
Now then, Jamie Fretwell from Mercedes Trucks says, not sold on the idea of the electric road system. Catenary, wireless. The UK doesn't have a great track record with infrastructure projects. We have cable-based charging for trucks on the road at the moment. We just need bays big enough for HGVs. There's another viewpoint. There'll be millions, but Sam will always have the strongest one. Anyway.
Also, you didn't, by the way, you didn't actually say induction charging. You said functioning charging road for heavy goods vehicles.
Well,
you didn't say induction.
It just says it on the headline there at the bottom, rolling across the screen.
Yeah,
I'm not reading that.
Sweden plans induction charging for HGVs by 2025.
I'm reading the news over here. It's over here. Yeah. I'm reading
Sam.
over here, not.
I read the news. If you have any clean transport, PR or news stories you'd like us to cover, please send them to us at hello@evcafe.org. If they're about trucks and induction charging, Sam will froth. Until next Friday, it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from them. This has been an EV Cafe production, brought to you this week by the ITT Hub, the Thinking Person's commercial transport show, featuring us, the EV Cafe.
I'm so excited. I literally cannot wait for Wednesday and Thursday next week.
It's going to be fabulous. Now then, other sustainability news services are available, but this is just funner. The EV Cafe is truly blessed to be partnered with My Energy, Geotab, EV Civil Solutions, the AA, Plug Me In, Sperry, Hydrock, Interval, what used to be Karcher, but is now Gersha. And Gersha. And McIntyre Hudson. It's good, isn't it? Gersha. And it's a hard shut. Gersha. We are the EV Cafe, supporting the transition to clean transport. Enjoy the rest of the day and your long weekend, wherever it takes you. If you're going to be wearing a crown, enjoy the moment. Until next Friday, bye.
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 I
There
love
we go.
Sam's. Bye.